Okay, so I already created a video for this, but I had to redo it because in creating the video for this, I realized that this is not going to work, this prompt. So it's also going to be too difficult, and some of you did not really give me what I wanted for the task 2 wrapper, so I've had to modify this. So in effect, while you still have another discussion piece to work on, we're going to cross out this version. So this is the last prompt on, not the last prompt, but it's the last prompt for critical self-assessment on the last page of the assignment document. Instead, we're going to change it to this, and trust me, this is going to be so much easier, and this video is going to be probably 10 minutes instead of 15 minutes like the other one. So you're still doing an 8th discussion piece, you're still doing one more critical self-assessment. It still makes use of the week 9 task 2 wrapper and 2 items from the Blackboard created review that was week 9 task 2. So let's go over the instructions and the changes. So you still present, instead of presenting all of your response to the week 9 task 2 wrapper, you're only going to present some portions of your response to item 2 of the week 9 task 2 wrapper, and you will be block indenting as you have other self quotes. So here I tell you that you're going to respond to the prompt or question associated with the first bullet, likewise with the second bullet, likewise with the third bullet, including the 3 sub-bullets that go with it. So what am I talking about? Let's go ahead and go into, let me go into student mode. So we'll go into my grades. I want to make sure that we're pulling from the correct thing, and I'm definitely going to have some pointers on how to do the content part. So going down. Okay, so make sure you're on the right thing. So week 9 task 1. Nope, we want stuff for week 9 task 2. Okay, so we want the wrapper. Remember that even if I haven't graded it, you can still get your submissions. And as the instructions say, item 2, so skip item 1, which I turned into extra credit. And here's what I mean in the instructions, the first 3 bullets, including these 3 sub-bullets for this one. So of course, you're not copying this, you're copying and pasting your response from this to your assignment. It's important to keep in mind what the context was, because you should include the context of this task wrapper in your discussion. You should include it at least, you should have it in mind, and I'll explain why in a minute. So what were these answers, what did these things focus on? Well, it focused on, you're working through a text-based review of rationalism's 3 anchor points, the video lectures, of course, of a particular rationalist, that's Descartes, and your responses to those lectures. And you can see that the context of this wrapper was the rationalism portion of the review. So it's always important to keep in mind and make sure that I know in your writing that you know that this has to do with your working through the rationalist items in the last Blackboard created review. Okay, so then it says review both your scores for responses to items 7 and 8 of week 9 task 2. Okay, so we just looked at the task wrapper and what you need to copy and paste. When it goes to your discussion, you are going to go to only items, and when it goes to what I want you to focus on in terms of what the task wrapper was about, that is task 2, you're going to focus only on items 7 and 8. Notice that I say, how did you do on item 7? Did you get the score expected? Explain in a sentence or 2. So here you can do a score, you'll tell me about the score. I scored a blank. According to you, that means that the letter grade equivalent is whatnot, and I'll give you the letter grade equivalent right now. So I'll give it to you when I'm doing, when we're looking at the Blackboard created review. So how did you do in the score? What was your score? And then what did I say was the letter grade associated with that score? I'll give that to you in a minute. Did you get the score expected? So yes, I got the score expected, or I didn't. Then tell me why it's not what you expected. It's not what you predicted. Or if it is what you predicted or expected, then tell me why you had predicted, would have predicted that grade or would have expected that grade. And then what are some of the causes of this score? So it's kind of like some of the other questions where it's like, can you break down the chain of causes and effects that led to the score now that you're thinking about it? So of course, Some of it you're reflecting, you're trying to recall your subjective experience while completing this. So of course causes could include I was very focused or I wasn't very focused, I was rushed or I took my time, I wasn't that interested or I felt very engaged, I was motivated to get a high grade. So you'll want to write 1 or 2 sentences for this part. You want to write 1 or 2 sentences for this part, and then here you want to write 2 or maybe at least 2 sentences for this part. So same thing with this for item 8. So let's go ahead then and look at item 7 and 8, and I will give you the score equivalent or tell you exactly how to talk about the score. So going back to the gradebook. So now I need to go to week 9, task 2. All right, so this is the Blackboard created review. We have to first work with, oh, no, I ended up clicking on the task wrapper. There we go. All right, so item 7. So again, 3 anchor points of rationalism. So incorporate some of the wording from this item prompt into your response to give the context for what you're about to discuss. So you can say something like, I'm going to first focus on item 7. We did a, so then you can just lift this. We did a what? A review of the, okay. I don't want you to copy and paste this. That's not what I want. I'm just saying include some contextual information. What did this include a review of? The 3 anchor points of what? Where did you have to go to get this information? That's right here. So why don't you provide a little bit of context there? And then what you want to do is you need to figure out how many of these items you missed. And chances are, I don't think Blackboard tells you which of these items you missed if you missed any. Now, if you missed all of them, you're going to see that you have 7.5 points, and you're going to say, oh, well, I got a perfect score on this, a 7.5. For this, I do not need the letter grade equivalent. That's going to be for item 8. Now, what you can do is if you missed one item, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think that's right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's 10 words you had to type in. Divide 7.5 by 10, and you'll figure out how much each one was worth. Okay, so then you want to take that number. In fact, I'm just going to do it for you right now. So give me a second. I just did it for you. Okay, so each of these items is worth 0.75 points. So for example, let's say you see that, you see here the score is 6.75. So you would do 7.5 minus 6.75. That would mean that you missed one item because 7.5 minus 6.75 equals 0.75. And that's how many each item is worth. So that means you missed one. So then you can say, according to my mathematical calculations, I missed one answer in this because I got a 6.75. Each one is worth 0.75, and 7.5 minus 6.75 would be 0.75. So that means I just missed one. So let's say you got a 6. So then if you missed 6, okay, so I'm sorry. Let's say you got a 6 out of 7.5, right? So then you'd want to do 7.5 minus 6 because you got 6 points out of 7.5. That would leave you with 1.5. So then what I need to do is take that number and do 1.5 divided by 0.75. That equals 2. That tells me I missed 2 items. So that's the way you can figure out how many items you missed here. Then after that, you can speculate. You can think about, okay, so I know that you won't know which ones you missed, but you can at least figure out how many you missed, and then you'll explain why you think you missed those items. What are the causes that led you to do that? Did you get the score expected, of course? Did you get full points? For this one, you could say, I got less than half the points, got half the points. Half the points would be 3.25. I got all of the points, 7.5. If you got 6 or 6.75 points, you can say I got most of the points. All right, so now for the last part of this video, which is, it turns out, is going to be 15 minutes long probably, but Trust me, this video and this version of this prompt are much more doable than what I had at first. So this is the item that was worth 44.75 points. And if you do not see a score here by the time you get to this, let me know and I'll have it graded within minutes. If it's between the hours of 9 to 5, chances are I can have it graded within minutes, if not an hour or two. So just let me know. I will be grading these furiously Tuesday and Wednesday of week 10. And I will be focusing on students who have already started this and are really ahead or caught up in class. All right, so then what you're going to do here is this is the last part of your very last discussion. This is item 8. And so you're going to want to look at your score here. You're going to want to look at your score and look at the total amount of points that you could have gotten for that. Okay, so here is what you're going to need to know when it comes to this part right here. If you got at least 40 points, you made an A on this part. If you made between 35.5 and 39.99 points, you got a B on this part. If you made between 31 and 34.49 points, you got a C. You've got it between a 26.75 and a 30.99, you got a D. And if you got 26.74 points or less, then unfortunately you made an F on the grade. So what you'll want to do, and I said it's, well, that's more or less. I actually calculated this for 44.5, but go ahead and use those numbers that I just gave you. It's not going to be a huge difference. It's not going to really be a significant difference between 44.5 and 44.75. So you'll just look for your score and you'll say, I got 40 points out of 44.75 points, and you said that I should interpret that as an A on item 8. And then you'll want to give a little bit of a description. You can say on item 8, you had, you presented us with 5 lectures, and for each of those lectures, you had us do this. So give a little bit of content. Create your own sentences. Don't use mine, but you can paraphrase or, use your own wording to say the same thing. And then what you want to do is see if I gave you some personalized feedback, and that's going to be my goal. You can also text me anytime between 9 a.m. and I'm just going to say 7 p.m. During week 10. And if you need some feedback to use, then I will go ahead and give you some ASAP. Texting will be the best way to get a hold of me. If I don't answer you immediately, I will get back to you as soon as I can. Please don't text me after, those hours. I need to sleep. I'm old. Older, let's put it that way, than most of you. Not all of you. I have students of all ages. So those of you who are older like me, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I will provide some kind of comment. I will let you know that I might just tell you, hey, you did the best on this lecture and set of responses, but you did the worst on this lecture and set of responses. And then I'll give you a sentence or two, and then you can use that for the discussion piece. Or I might give you some feedback that says, when I look across your responses for the various lectures, I noticed that you did better on these kinds of items and worse on these kinds of items. So I might say you did really good, paying attention to words that represented fundamental and powerful concepts and making sure you included all of them. But you didn't do so well on argument formatting argument markup and reformatting. So I'll leave you some kind of comment. So remember, those kinds of comments that you have to get from the grade book. So this will be the last thing that I show you. So remember, for those kinds of comments, so for this item 8 of the last discussion piece, you're going to go to the week 9 task 2 gradebook row, and you're going to look for this icon, and that's where I should have that.